Hello again. This is the Fantasy Sultans, and we are back. It has been just over 2 months since the last time
Mhm.
we have talked to you on this podcast. The Hall of Famer is still the Hall of Famer, and I'm still not a Hall of Famer. Um, but I got my buddy back here, if you'll notice, Mr. Gnome from the Masters, because I went last
Mhm.
week. Yay, me.
Nice.
Um, Mike is the Hall of Famer, of course. We are getting ready for the NFL draft, and it has been a while since we've talked, so let's go back over things chronologically. Super Bowl, boy, the Chiefs didn't show up. I'm still waiting for the Chiefs to show up at the Super Bowl. That was a good old fashioned butt kicking, and the only good thing I'll say about the Super Bowl, I won money because the Chiefs were able to score late, and the over came in. Otherwise, it was not a good day if you were a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And I was thinking the over was not going to come in. I, 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 I mean, let's be realistic. And we talked. I mean, no one. I think people expected Philadelphia to win, but they did not expect the trouncing
Mm-mm.
that Philadelphia laid on the Chiefs. And for a team to be a two-time champion, going for three-peat, to play as flat as Kansas City did. Yeah, and I didn't even watch the press conference, but I know Andy Reid said it's my fault. I didn't prepare the team. That's what I heard every year in Philadelphia. Every time they lost in the championship game and when they lost in the Super Bowl. It's my fault. I didn't prepare the players. Dude, your team didn't show up. Is it the players' fault? Is it the coach's fault?
You
Or
know,
was, or was it the team that they were playing? Because the other team was pretty good.
yeah, that other team was pretty good, and I think
Pretty
that's
good.
what I think that's what it came down to, total domination. I mean, you talk about the blueprint that they crafted, the Eagles all season long, they did it. I mean, 16 of the last 17 games they won in a row. So this was a team that we doubted at the beginning of the year. I mean, you had them as a Super Bowl prediction to go to the Super Bowl, but you know what? We kept saying with the drama that was unfolding with Nick Sirianni and the players and stuff like that, they overcame that drama. They sort of used that fuel to their fire, and that's what really, you know, sent the Eagles to victory. Basically, is that drama, that the sparks being doubted. They were basically facing adversity, and that's what it came down to. And Saquon Barkley, look, I mean, we said if the Chiefs were going to stop Saquon, that was really their only shot at winning the Super Bowl, and it didn't happen. But they stopped Saquon because of Spagnuolo came up with a nice blueprint, 57 yards, but they didn't account for Jalen Hurts. They didn't account for that defense, and that defense came out gunslinging. They just shut down Patrick Mahomes in the first half. Kansas City didn't really get anything going. They were down 24 points going midway through the third, and when you're down that kind of points, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be a comeback. I think you were saying it because you were on the road traveling back and you heard the game on the radio. You're like, there's no way they're going to be coming back. You and I are texting back and forth. There's no
Yeah,
way they're going to come back, and that was
yeah.
pretty much the case. They did.
By
They
the way,
just couldn't.
I have a hands free unit, so anybody thinks I'm
Well, yeah,
texting with my
yeah,
phone. I have a hands free unit in my car. But
yeah.
what I was going to say to you is, and I think we talked about this. At 24-0, well, it was 17-0,
Yeah.
and I thought, the Chiefs could come back from this. But that interception by Cooper DeJean right at the end of the first half, that was the nail in the coffin. And then when, Chiefs got the ball, start the second half, they got stopped, and Philadelphia punched it right in. That was when I said, this game is over. They're not, the Kansas City Chiefs are not coming back. And that was the point. And I said, like I said, the over, if you had the over in this game, you had to sit there and go, I'm in trouble here. And the only thing that could help you was a couple of late scores, and you got those late scores. Now, the final score, you know, does not, it looks a little more competitive than the game really was. I mean, the game was just, I mean, Philadelphia just destroyed Kansas City. And I don't, was it overconfidence by the Chiefs? Or was it we, maybe what you said is true. We kind of just thought we underestimated Philadelphia. Although, again, I think I picked the Eagles
Yeah, you did.
to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we did our picks, and again, I just, and here we are. We're now, like I said, we're 2.5 months past that, and I think it's still just a shock. It's still stunning. Whenever you talk NFL, you think Kansas City, but that, I mean, again, congratulations to Philadelphia. They're the Super Bowl champs. They beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs now will try for, I mean, listen, the Chiefs have made seven straight championship games. That's phenomenal in this day and age.
Yeah.
Try one more time, but I don't know, because, everybody else has seen the blueprint to beat Kansas City. You're right. The Eagles have done that. And it will be interesting to see. I mean, this is one of the surprising things about Philadelphia is they're actually going to come back with their offensive and defensive coordinators. See, the last time they won the Super Bowl, remember, they lost both the offensive and defensive coordinators. So they're running it back with Sirianni and everybody. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles play this year.
But they're not running it back with that defense, which is going to be a challenge. And here we go again. Maybe we're going to doubt Sirianni, and we'll see what happens next year. But they lost a lot of key players on defense. Not on the offensive side, but they lost a lot of key players on defense. Huge makeover. C.J. Gardner-Johnson goes to Houston. Cornerback Darius Slade Jr., they let Milton Williams go, Mekhi Becton and Josh Sweat in free agency. So there's going to be questions on that defensive line. Nick Sirianni, we're going to see how good of a coach he is. And, okay, here we go again, doubting Nick Sirianni. But I don't know. I think when you lose that much talent, that is a challenge. I don't know how they're going to come back from that.
But here's the other part of it, okay? We're on to a new year. And remember, the team that they beat in the championship game, the Washington Commanders, who are in the NFC East. So once again, the Eagles are going to have a tough road to hoe. I think that's a part of this thing. You're right about free agency. Let's talk a little bit free agency. I think the big question on free agency, and it's still there, Aaron Rodgers. Once again, Aaron Rodgers, being Mr. Diva, got chased out of the Jets. I want to go to Minnesota. We don't want you. Maybe I'll go to the. No, we don't want you. Maybe I'll go to the. No, we don't want you. I'll go to Pittsburgh. Okay, and still nothing. So I am really going to be curious to see where he goes. Last year, I think we agreed the top free agent signing was Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. Obviously, that was the big free agent signing. What do you think the top one this year was?
If I want to take a look at it, I think Cooper Kupp was a big signing in Seattle. I also want to say Sam Darnold for the surprising team that made the biggest move, the Seattle Seahawks. I congratulate them because, I just did not have that on the bingo card that Sam Darnold or Cooper Kupp would land in the same place in Seattle, no less. I mean, if I were to guess, going back 3 months ago, and because Cooper Kupp was on the table back in January, they were talking about moving him. Yeah. I would have guessed that he would have landed on a Super Bowl contender like Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, a team that can vie. Now, I'm not saying Seattle isn't a Super Bowl contender, but I didn't expect him to go to Seattle. And you're taking a look at that. That's a 3-year deal for Darnold, $100 million. This is a nice move by Seattle. Of course, they added Marquez Valdez Scantling, now not as big as a Cooper Cup signing, but still they're adding those pieces for that Mike McDonald offense. And I think Seattle is kind of saying, hey, San Francisco, hey, Los Angeles Rams, we're here to compete in the NFC West this year.
Well, listen, I think one of the things that Seattle realizes is McDonald needed to build his offense, his own offense. And I think that was kind of obvious with the Darnold signing, with the Cup signing. Marquez Valdez scanning, a good signing too. But I want to flip it around. Talk about dismantling a team. The San Francisco 49ers basically
Yeah.
let go a huge part of their team. And one of the reasons, they made the trade with the Commanders, but one of the reasons is they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy, and it's time to sign him. And I understand it. I don't know if they can be that team or that good. And again, Christian McCaffrey's injury history works against them also. And I think that's part of the problem. The NFC West is going to be so interesting to watch because of Seattle, because of Los Angeles. The Arizona Cardinals made a couple of moves. Again, Jonathan Gannon, his third year as coach there. I think that will be an interesting team to watch. The NFC South, oh yeah, the Atlanta Falcons. Well, they got Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback. Oh yeah, Kirk Cousins is sitting on the bench making $100 million. And I'll ask you this opinion, Mike. Do you think Atlanta is going to hold on to Cousins, or do you think they'll make a move because it doesn't make sense to have Cousins on your bench? I mean, I think the cost factor is where I'm going with that.
Well, it's a huge factor, and I think Atlanta maybe can move him or move Cousins for some draft capital too. I mean, you think about it, who needs a quarterback? Well, Pittsburgh, they got rid of Russell
Cleveland.
Wilson, they got rid of Justin Fields. Maybe he goes to Pittsburgh. There was
Cleveland.
talks that maybe he would go to Cleveland, but of course, they signed Joe Flacco. They also get Kenny Pickett. So, a lot of possibilities out there, or maybe he just sits the bench. I mean, I have a hard time believing that he's going to sit the bench because obviously in Atlanta, Michael Penix Jr. is the future of that team. And we saw it last year when Kirk Cousins lost the starting job to him.
But again, in the NFL, in order to win, you have got to have two good quarterbacks. I'm not saying great quarterbacks, but good quarterbacks. And that is one of the big things you have to have. Kenny Pickett winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles last year, he did not play that much, but when you have a Jalen Hurts, you don't need Kenny Pickett to play, but he was a good enough backup for them. And he did, again, you can talk about over the years, you talk about teams that have won and have had good backup quarterbacks. I mean, listen, I'm going to date myself here, but let's go back to the Miami Dolphins back in the early 1970s, the Super Bowl teams. Bob Greasy was the starting quarterback, but Earl Morrall bailed them out a couple of times and Greasy kept getting hurt. So you need two good quarterbacks. Earl Morrall and Johnny Unitas were with Baltimore before that. One of the reasons why Earl Morrall went to Miami because Don Shula went down there to coach. But I bring that up as a case in point. The New York Giants when they won 1990 the Super Bowl in 91. Jeff Hostetler, who replaced Phil Simms. Now Phil Simms, and that was, I think, one of the huge mistakes that Ray Handley made was starting Hostetler over Simms. And I remember when Hostetler got hurt in Tampa Bay, I was at that game in 1991, and all the Giant fans were just so happy to see Phil Simms in the lineup because he deserved to be. But I digress a little bit. You've got to have two good quarterbacks.
And Nick Foles with Carson Wentz too.
Yeah, yes. That's a good one too. And of course, Nick Foles is now retired, and he retired as an Eagle this year, which that's something else that's happened over the offseason. All right, let us turn our attention to the NFL draft, and obviously that's what a lot of people are talking about, and there's a lot of talk about quarterbacks. I mean, we just talked about you got to have two quarterbacks. You've got to have good quarterbacks. You've got to develop quarterbacks. But now some teams just go and draft a quarterback and start them, take their lumps. Drake May last year was better than people expected with New England. Um, look at the situation in Denver. Bo Nix did a better job than I think anybody expected. So as we head into the NFL draft, this is not a great quarterback draft,
Mm-mm.
but this is the NFL. Monkey see, monkey do. And they think they can get the next Bo Nix, Jalen Daniels, Drake May. I'm not gonna put Caleb Williams in there. He had a good year, but he was not that good. All of and we talk about teams, and we didn't even mention Chicago improved themselves. They've got a couple. They made a couple of great free agent signings. They're building that offense, and they are going to be some. And of course, they hired Ben Johnson, so they're going to be somebody to watch in the NFC North. But again, as we go back to the draft, I think hands down we know the number one pick, Cam Ward, Miami. That's the quarterback that everybody's talked about. I think the Titans have locked in on that unless somebody comes and makes a huge offer. I don't see happening. They're going to take him number one. Okay. Now the question is, Cleveland at number 2. They need a quarterback. The Giants at number 3. They need a quarterback. And when I say quarterback of the future. New England's at 4. Well, I ain't going to take a quarterback. They got Drake May. So the question now for Cleveland and the Giants, Shedeur Sanders. And I have said to you on numerous occasions, I want the Giants to have nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. I would not take a quarterback at number 3. I would not take a quarterback at number 2. I would not take Shedeur Sanders. Your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with you. Shedeur Sanders, I don't think is, quarterback ready. And I think when you take a look at the quarterbacks, Cam Ward, yeah, he's the number 1 overall quarterback. Of the 3 quarterbacks, I am going to say Jackson Dart for the future. He may not be 100% ready today, but I definitely think that down the line, he's going to be a better quarterback than Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I just think that he's got the ability to make the big plays downfield that, not to say that the other quarterbacks can't, but for the future, I think there's more promising. And, you talk about the Giants, maybe they'll take, Travis Hunter, maybe they'll take, another player. But if I were the Giants, I would take a look at maybe taking Jackson Dart late in the first, maybe even the second round, because
hang on a second.
Dart go. Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let's go from this perspective. And I think the Giants signing Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Basically the message is they're not going to draft a quarterback early. So that
not
number
early,
3 pick,
no.
you get rid. So I think the question now, and I've talked to some people in Cleveland, and the feeling in Cleveland is they're going to go with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
They like him in Cleveland, and Travis Hunter said, I'm going 2 ways or I'm not playing. And again, I'm not surprised at that. I think teams would want him. I would love to get him at 3. If he's there at 3, the Giants will take him. So that's all there is. Cleveland was talking about taking Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. Thing is, he may fall to the Giants. I'm okay with that too. I mean, they need help on defense. That's fine. But here's where we talk about now, and this is where most of the draft talk and most everything is centered upon. Where does Shedeur Sanders go at this point? You have to look at number 9, the New Orleans Saints. Now Derek Carr may have a shoulder injury, may be out for the year.
Yep.
So they have a quarterback need at 9. Could Shedeur Sanders be their guy? You then have, and again, looking for a quarterback, I don't know. I don't see anybody else really desperately needing a quarterback or is going to take a quarterback until you go to pick 21. Pittsburgh Steelers. Will the Steelers? And now you get to the situation where if what you say is true, Mike, and I agree with you, Jackson Dart, I think, is the second best quarterback in this. He could be the best, but I think he's not ready right now.
No.
But at 21, Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. I think Pittsburgh's going to go quarterback. I think they got to. And if they don't go quarterback, let's go to 26, the Los Angeles Rams. You got Shedeur Sanders still available, and Jackson Dart. I think the Rams are going to take him. So this is where the problem comes for both the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants. Do you try and trade up in the first round? I think it behooves you to trade up into the first round because you get that fifth year with a first round pick. So on the rookie contract. So I think it would behoove them to trade up and try and get a quarterback latter part first round rather than wait until that first pick in the second round. I mean, the Browns will go first and then the Giants will go second. But I think I could see either of those teams moving up to take a quarterback. But the other part of this is, and again, you don't know what's going to happen. Our team's going to panic. Our team's going to want to try and trade up. Our teams think, oh, we're not going to be able to get our guy, and you go too early. I mean, I'm never going to forget this, but the Giants, Dave Gettleman, screwed up big time when he drafted Daniel Jones at number 6. He was afraid somebody was going to take Daniel Jones. And I was like, no, take him at 15. Don't take him at 6. I said, because if you do, there's going to be screaming to bench Eli Manning. And what happened? Eli Manning got benched. Schumer was playing for his job. Schumer got fired. And Daniel Jones, we don't need to go into that.
Well, the Giants have lost a lot of sleep, too, with the running back position. I know this may be early to take them at 2, but Ashton Genty is certainly going to fill the bill. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Again, crazy to think that. But, with what we saw with Saquon Barkley, that the GM is going to be hungry for a running back. And I'm not going to say that Tyrone Tracy isn't the guy for the Giants, but Genty?
Hey, listen, would it shock me? I don't think so. But I think if you, I think the Giants at number 3 are in this order: Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and again, one of those two is going to be there unless something unexpected happens. And I hate to say this. I mean, somebody trades up to number 1. They're taking a quarterback. They want Cam Ward, and they're going to give a huge ransom for that number 1 pick. Otherwise, Titans are taking Cam Ward. And I think one of the reasons is because the Titans are one of those teams that needs to start performing. I think Brian Callahan is under a little heat, not a lot of heat, but a little heat in Tennessee. So I think they need to get a quarterback for the future. I mean, let's face it, the Giants are a huge need a quarterback. They need a quarterback for the future. If the Giants do not come out, and I'll even go as far as the third round, because as we said, the mock draft that ESPN had posted, Jalen Milroe in the third round. I don't think the Giants can afford to wait till the third round to get a quarterback. I think they've got to take him with that second pick. Again, I would love to get Jackson Dart. And Mike, I've been saying this, I think, since December. I think I said it in our podcast here, and I've also said this on our Fantasy Sultans show, which we had on Fox Sports Radio in New Jersey. I said I want Jackson Dart. Nothing has shown. I mean, he has shown that he is. I think he's a good future quarterback. You're right. He could be better in the long run. But again, I don't think the Giants are going to go and overpay and are going to scramble. But if the Giants were to trade up in the first round to take a quarterback, it wouldn't shock me. And again, you know, I'd be okay if, let's say, they do draft Travis Hunter at number 3 and they go and get Shedeur Sanders at the end of the first round. Again, I could live with that one. I'd be good with that one. I would be worried if they took him with pick number 34, because that's not going to sit well with Coach Prime. And I'm sure it's not going to sit well with Shedeur Sanders, because I think he expects to be the first round.
Look, other offensive players that we're watching in the first round, offensive line, Will Campbell from LSU, definitely the top blocker in this year's class. Maybe he goes to New England, protect Drake May in year number 2. Kelvin Banks of Texas, bringing versatility to the tackle position. You've got Ohio State's Donovan Jackson. And then you take a look at the offensive playmakers. Arizona's Tetairoa McMillan, 6'5", moves like a shifty wide receiver in the slot, benefits of enormous catch radius as well, and has a freak-like ability to make contested catches. Kind of reminds me of Drake London, only I think he's a little bit better. I could see him in a situation, maybe he helps out Justin Herbert, or in Denver as a big body target for Bo Nix. Could be a replacement for Cortland Sutton as well. Matthew Golden's another wide receiver out of Texas, explosive player. Doesn't have the biggest frame, but consistently at the top of his routes, he creates separation. So he also brings that term ability. And of course, you know, could be a weapon for Kyler Murray in that Cardinals offense. Then there's a tight end. It's getting a lot of talks. He's from Penn State. Bring some Brack Bowers in him. Yep, Tyler Warren. He accounted for almost 50% of Penn State's offense. Not a player who has more higher draft stock than Warren. Hard to believe that maybe 6 months ago, this guy was like a round 3, round 4 pick and has jolted up to be in the round 1 conversation. So I think he's definitely a player to watch in round 1.
All right, I've got a wide receiver to take a look at, and this is something that, again, you talk about players who are looking better or are coming up draft boards. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams. He is somebody that people are targeting. He's a guy that has come up, basically from nowhere. Look for him to go early day 2. Somebody is going to take him. And again, wide receiver, there are a lot of wide receivers. You mentioned a couple right there. I got to tell you, Kyle Williams has got a lot of upside, and he is really, he had pre-draft visits, Dolphins, Bears, 49ers, and Seahawks, 9 pre-draft visits. That's a lot for a player.
Yeah.
I mean, you see players with pre-draft visits, do 3 or 4, 9 for this guy. So I think he's somebody to look for down the stretch. And again, we talk about this draft, and you never know what is going to happen. But again, I think, and I'm going to, just to go back to the discussion about quarterback and trading back into the first round, let's think about this from this standpoint, okay? Drafting 32nd, Philadelphia Eagles. They don't need a quarterback. Drafting 31st, Kansas City. They don't need a quarterback.
Draft capital.
Washington. They don't need a quarterback. Baltimore. They don't need a quarterback. It's only when you get to 27 or 26, again, we talked about the Los Angeles Rams, who are probably going to look for a quarterback. Matthew Stafford is signed. He's good, but Stafford is not a long-term answer. They've got to get somebody in there and get him to learn the system. And again, I think Los Angeles Rams would be a good spot for somebody to go to learn. Jackson Dart, good point. Jalen Milroe, he's one of the quarterbacks in this class. And it's funny, we can mention this in the draft. People are saying, let's wait to get a quarterback next year. We'll wait till Arch Manning comes out. He'll be great. Well, there's no guarantee Arch Manning's going to come out next year. Because as you're seeing some players want to stay, and the NIL money that they make is good enough to stay another year in college. Arch Manning is an example of that, but there are other players. The NIL money is so good now. They want to stay in college. And, again, there were some risks and rewards. Had Cam Ward come out last year, I mean, I'd be hard pressed. Do you think he would have been one of those quarterbacks taken the first, 10 picks? I don't think so. No, he wouldn't be. And Shedeur Sanders, I don't even think would be talked about in the first round. Shedeur Sanders was off the first round radar until last year, until midway through the college football season. They were saying him as a Heisman. But again, when you're Shedeur Sanders and your father is Coach Prime, you get a lot of attention on you.
Last year in the draft, we saw 6 quarterbacks drafted in round 1. I'd be surprised if we even see 3 total come out of the first round this year. I mean, like we said, the draft class just isn't there for the quarterback. The talent isn't there. Yeah, but Jackson Dart's going to be that variable to see if that third team wants to take him in round 1. Otherwise, I don't think so. I think your top 2 is going to be Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders.
But but Mike, here's my point. Did we think Mitch Trubisky was that good?
No.
Did we think Mitch Trubisky was going to go top 10?
No.
Okay. Did we think that Kansas City, when they drafted Patrick Mahomes, they moved up in the draft to get him?
Yeah.
And he was drafted in that same draft that Trubisky was drafted. Again, teams will, the draft, listen, the movie Draft Day, which we both saw.
We saw it well with our buddy Bob.
Yeah. With our buddy Bob. Caddy Bob. And again, you never know what's going to happen in the draft. I think at this point, if Shedeur Sanders doesn't go number 9 to the Saints, who have a screaming need for a quarterback, I think you're right. It'll be hard pressed to see 2 quarterbacks drafted. But I think if Shedeur goes at number 9, I think, again, you've got the Steelers, you got the Rams. I think they will go quarterback, and I think you could see 2 more quarterbacks gone. Listen, I'm not saying that Jalen Milroe is that good, but Jalen Milroe could move up because, again, if you start taking quarterbacks off the board, all it takes is one team to say, hey, I want this guy. All it takes is one team to say, I want Jackson Dart. And what if Jackson Dart gets drafted by the Saints?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be like, what is going on? I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be in Green Bay. I mean, it's going to be in Green Bay. It's going to be the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Not as frozen in April. But, I mean, that's the cool part of this NFL draft. And I mean, we're going to sit there, we're going to get our popcorn, and we're going to be texting back and forth. We'll be talking, we'll be having a blast because, hey, that's what we do. And of course, we are the Fantasy Sultans. So we will come back I guess we'll come back in July, right? End of July, early August.
Early August, yeah.
Early August, okay. We'll be back with season number 3. The Fantasy Sultans here, our podcast, our video podcast. Sultans, God, we're getting old, dude. We're in the teen years for the Sultans.
Oh yeah, we're driving that car already. We're driving.
Yeah. We're driving a car. We're driving a car. We're driving our parents crazy. We're the crazy teen years. If you got questions or comments about Fantasy Sultans, you can do so. At fantasysultans@gmail.com. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Got to wish happy birthday to our buddy Mac. It's his birthday.
Nice.
And we got to wish happy birthday to Mac. He listens
happy
to us all
Mac.
the time. He tries to beat us in fantasy football, and he'll have 2 chances to lose this year. Not 1, 2. We're looking forward to that one. Yeah, happy birthday. Backslap there. Don't forget about my other podcast, Tripp's Take. You can find it the same spots you can find this, Spotify for Creators and YouTube. If you like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen to WTRSradio.com. All right. Listen, we maybe take a week, a week, maybe. Maybe not even. We take a couple days. And then we're back at it. We have been grinding at this. The Hall of Famer every day is grinding. He's compiling notes. He that's why he's the Hall of Famer. I'm not. But he's there. We're here for you. We're giving you the information. And next year, you're going to win. And you know why you're going to win? Because you are going to listen to us. Because we are the Fantasy Sultans.
And you are not.